Alright. Hey, what's up guys? This is Desm101. Welcome back to the channel. Today it's a little different. We're going to just be checking out some more TMNT on NES. And I've already talked about this game a lot, featured it a few times in my videos, but it's one of the reasons that I wanted to start making videos in the first place. So it's going to be a walkthrough scenario where I'm just going to be giving my tips and tricks playing the game. That way some people might find it helpful and making the game a little bit easier. And we're going to be trying to do it without scrolls. So, I think this game is actually really good. It's not a bad game at all. And I have some very fond memories playing it as a kid. I practiced it quite a lot back then. And, I by no means think I'm an expert level video gamer, a hardcore gamer really. I just play games pretty casually as an adult, I realize that. And but this game is one that I always come back to and I always have a lot of fun with. And so, without further ado, let's get started. So if you haven't played this game before, there's two different modes of play. You got your top-down style and your side-scrolling view. And generally what you'll have to do is navigate through the map to get to the end of the level, fight a boss, and that's it. You gotta get to the Technodrome, you gotta beat Shredder, and that's it. Not off to a great start. With these ninjas, I like to just hit them once and then jump. So if you tap the jump, you do a very small jump, you hold it down, you do a big jump. That's pretty important. Learning the jump mechanics, it's really floaty, but that's very essential to understanding how to get through the platforming in this game. That's a major source of complaints, is that the platforming is a bit obtuse and confusing to get through. Oh, and there's boomerangs. So boomerangs are an extremely helpful item. We'll get to that more in a moment. First, pizza. So obviously that's how you regain life, but the cool thing is whenever you leave a building or leave underground, basically a side-scrolling part, and go to an overground part, it resets everything in the level. So if I go back here, you can see that the pizzas actually respawn. So that's really helpful if you're just starting out playing this game and you see pizza somewhere that's easily accessible next to an exit. Just keep spawning that pizza by going out and back in, and you can keep recovering your life. So that's a very common tactic that I use, back then and even now. So another thing that you'll find out quick about the game is that there's different sets of enemies. So depending on certain factors, you'll get a different set of enemies when you enter a room. And here's our first mini boss, Bebop. He's made really easy if you have any of these special weapons. Boomerangs are great because you can get them back. They're essentially an infinite special item, which makes them very useful compared to other special items. With the map, you don't have to visit every place. A lot of these will actually be kind of dead ends. So there's no point to going every single one. You can see there it had the different spawn types of enemies. So if there's like a certain set of enemies that you have trouble with, or that you'd rather get a different set, you can just leave and come back in. And it's really just about kind of testing out how the enemies react, what you can do to get them to damage easily. Like this guy, you can get him in this pattern of where he just keeps going up and down and doesn't actually spit any projectiles. Little frog guy here. So I have to stand on this ledge. Obviously the first levels are going to be super easy. These fire guys are kind of a pain. So you can also switch turtles, and the main difference that you'll see between them is their attack power and their range. So Leo has very good range compared to most of the rest except for Donatello, but he's not very powerful. However, once you lose half of your life, that means that you become stronger. So your attack power goes up, meaning these enemies, for example, if I was at half HP, they would only take a single hit. But now with my full life bar, they take 2 hits. So you want to drop down there real quick to avoid those bugs hitting you. And I go up here and I just usually stand at the ladder for a second and then go to the right. Seems like he's going to hit you, but he actually doesn't come in contact with your hitbox. And Leo's attack actually goes behind him a little bit. So if you have an enemy stuck behind you like that, you can simply just stand there and face the other way and attack and they'll get hit. Okay, here's Rocksteady. He'll shoot a projectile at you, but if you have a weapon like this, you just basically spam it until he's done. We did lose a boomerang, unfortunately. That was because the level ended before it was returned to Leonardo. So the coolest thing about being able to switch the turtles and using your boomerangs is that you can share the boomerangs with the other turtles. So I'll show you that really quick. If you pause the game or switch the turtles, there you go. Keep doing that a few more times. That way we can make sure that all the turtles have some boomerangs. And usually I'm not that lucky to get them so quick, but it's definitely a nice plus. Now what'll happen though is a lot of times you'll be in the midst of destroying enemies and they'll drop another projectile attack special weapon, and it might not be as useful as boomerangs. And if you notice right back there, I just climbed up on that ledge without actually clearing it. So there's a bunch of examples of using that technique. It's very helpful. It can help you avoid getting extra enemies and stuff. I'll do it again here really quick just to show you. So all you need to do is get up to the ledge. You can see he doesn't quite reach. But if you press left up against it, he can slowly edge into it, only while he's up against it. So if you can see, if you just keep pressing on the left, only when the circle, like the jump, the Ninja Turtle is up right against it, it'll slowly tiny edge you, and then don't press it while you're dropping further down. And then if you just keep pressing to the left, he'll eventually go on top of the ledge. It's really fascinating. But it works, you can test it out. It's very easy to learn it actually. Chainsaw guy, I think there'll be another mini boss after this guy. I killed this. Oh. Let's try it again. Go to the ledge, press left. There you go. Now on this ledge up here it won't work because it's more than 1 block thick, so if it's 2 blocks thick or more, then you won't be able to do the trick for some reason. Since I have not been able to. Yeah. See, for some reason if there's more bricks there, it won't let you clear the ledge. Very curious. We'll just go straight through here. Turn on some boomerang action. Oh. Okay, we have some health power up right here. Those little UFO guys aren't too hard. You can leave the pizza until you beat this guy in case you take any damage from him. So you can see if you just go like a little bit of a distance away from him and then turn back, you can just kind of get that guy stuck in a loop. These little UFOs, you can just hit them once and then jump up and hit them again, or just jump to avoid them altogether. Okay, here's the part where I'm known to screw up. So you just need to make sure that you're right at the edge and then jump. Oh, I missed it. I think I just got nervous. Quickly go and try it again. Okay, now it's time for the dam. So to figure out this part, you know, I just did trial and error. It didn't take me that long. It maybe took me, I don't know, a couple weeks or something as a kid. But once you have it figured out, you just never forget it. It's like riding a bike. That first one's really easy, you get it. Then what I do is I stay at the bottom here. Okay, you'll come across one right here. And then I go back. So try to wait for this, and then you take a little bit of damage there. And you know, obviously the faster you press the button, the easier, or more quickly your turtle moves through the water. Okay, now all we have to do is continue right here. Go under this little spinning thing. Come across this one. All you have to do is go straight across this way. This is another spot where you're likely to take a lot of damage. I usually just wait until you get that beep going on. Oh, almost. So that part, it's tricky. I recommend just not pressing the button too much. Lightly pressing it here and there. You'll find that you can build up good momentum, and then you just kind of coast through it. Pretty tricky to not get damage there. But hey, you got 4 turtles. Should be able to spare a little bit of damage. Alright, still got a minute left. With just a couple more to go. So you can see it's pretty straightforward. It's just there's that little deviation at the very beginning where you stay at the bottom and then come backwards, back around. But that's it. The rest are pretty much just straightforward. Make sure not to fall into those pits, they'll suck you in. Trying to take damage here. Oh, got a little bit, but there you go. So that was pretty easy, I think. I mean, I guess I've been playing this game for like over 20 years, but... And I got my NES later than a lot of other kids did. I remember I asked for it like the year it had already been out. I think that was 86. And, you know, everybody had it that year, and they gave me an Atari 2600 Junior, which I was pretty bummed about. But yeah, I ended up loving the system. I played the heck out of it, and my buddy had a 2600 too. So we also would like swap games, trade games, or borrow games from each other. But finally the next year I got, I think that was like 88 or 87. Anyway, I got it around that time. It was 88. And this game had just come out. And I remember renting it before I got the NES. They let me rent it from the video store. And I was just super hooked on the game. I didn't want to play anything else. And they ended up getting it for me for my birthday a few months later. Okay, now this is the level where I think it's pretty easy to get tripped up and get stuck. So the recommended route that I take that makes it pretty simple is just to think about going on the outside from the left to the down to the right side of the entire map. So all you have to do is come in here to get some rockets, and these will be used to blow up the things blocking your route while you're in the party wagon. Oh wow, more boomerangs. That's always good. So in here it's also useful to get pizza. Of course, for Leo. Leo's my favorite character in this game. I just think he controls well. It's fun to play as him. So now that he's down to less than half his life, he's going to be stronger. So, oh, there's no little watch. When I come up here, whenever enemies here will be pretty easy to kill. 2, 3. So normally that's a 6-hit guy, I think. Yeah. Alright, so we're going to use that technique right here that we talked about in the last level. We'll Just keep pressing to the left until he clears the ledge. But only press it while you're up against the ledge there. Alright, that's all you really need is to get that one set. And then you can just walk across that, in case you didn't already know. Wow. It's crazy. I've never seen that many boomerang drops before. And also, like I mentioned before, if you're low on life at this part, you can simply leave the building and keep coming back in until you've restored all your life. So that's usually what I do if I'm low on hit points. But it looks like we're all set. There's tons of boomerangs and enough rockets. So you want to make sure not to waste the rockets. Let's see if I can remember what button it is. I think it's A. No. That's your P shooter. It's B. So two shots of the P shooter, you can kill those tanks. Or if you shoot a rocket, one of the tanks, it will just plow through them. Here is where you can get the scrolls. If you'd like to, you can keep coming and leaving from there. It'll take a while. So we're not worried about, we don't need the scrolls. They are really helpful if you're having a hard time with the game. Might make it a little more fun, a little more easy. But I like the challenge of not getting the scrolls, especially if I've got boomerangs. Okay, so we're going to just keep staying at the bottom here. Like I said before, we're just kind of making an outline around the outside of the map. Skipping all that. Sometimes I can hit that guy if I launch it at just the right time. I think you can waste 2 rockets though. And you'll still be able to make it fine. You don't need every single one of them. Or no, 3, okay. Like for this guy we can waste him. Alright, yeah, we still have 2 left. I always like to ceremoniously fire them into the building to announce that we're here. Sometimes this part might be easier just to use your special weapon if you got boomerangs and stuff. Any place where it's like a low ceiling and you're not able to jump to avoid the enemy. Oh, what? I know, it's just weird. Sometimes, well, yeah, sometimes hit detection can be pretty off in this game. Okay, so here's the sewer. This is a spot where I would get frustrated when I was younger. Oh, there's the triple ninja stars. Okay, so right here, one thing to note, of course, you're going to use your small tap jump, but over at the other side, as soon as you clear the gap, there's going to be somebody standing there. So if you have a special weapon, get it ready, or put Donatello in charge. You just want to make sure that you don't fall off that ledge or get knocked back into the water, because then you have to come back in the building, yada yada. Okay, now for the rest of the way, all you have to do is just use that light jump, and I always switch back to this normal weapon. Okay, those ones you can just walk right across, so anything it's like a block, single block missing, you can just walk across it. Okay, there's a half pizza. Let this guy fall in the water. Grab that. Yeah, I don't really like those little flying guys. Okay, and this is the end of this part here. Alright. And again, if you are low on life here, you can keep coming back in here and getting pizza. Oops. As long as that guy gets its spot. Try it once more, see what happens. There you go. No problem. Alright, so in here there's usually a bunch of those fire dudes or the bug head guys. And your boomerangs are your weapon. Usually help Leo get through this as though he was Donatello. So So I'm sure by now you can see what a huge help the boomerangs are. Oh, as I say as I lose them. Skip that guy. Well, luckily, Raph has a surplus of. I can give them to Leo after this fight. Here's the boss fight. It's a double boss fight. Here with this guy, I try to just keep my distance. Hit him with my projectile attacks. Alright. Okay. This guy, same thing. Stand a little ways away from him. 2 more shots. Oh boy. Alright, not bad. So the idea there is just to try to not take tons of damage. Let's see. Yeah, 2 turtles, half-life. I did okay. Alright, now this is one of my favorite levels, the airport. And it's pretty challenging, definitely. Let's see. Again, you can use this technique where you have them load the different enemy sets. This set is pretty easy to deal with. The balloons and the little flea guys and these weird transforming dudes. So we're gonna spam the pizza, of course. It's always a great idea to do that. Still got Raph that needs. Might as well give Leo some boomerang power. Help him out. Okay. Okay, you do need the rope there. I'll just get rid of this guy so we can get that. And this is the only time in the game that you need the rope. As I recall, the instruction manual makes you think that you'll need the rope for the second level. And I think there are some buildings where you can use the rope if you find it in the second level, but it's totally unnecessary. So for this level, it's nice and convenient. It's just right on your way to when you gotta use it. As a kid, I thought the rope was really cool, but I wondered why they didn't use it more. Seemed like an odd kind of power-up. They have a special spot only for the rope. And there's only one time in the whole game that you need it. There's more pizza there. I think we're all set though. I can just continue on. These guys, I like to just skip them, run ahead. Yeah. Those lasers are a pain. I think you can destroy them, but they've got like high hit points. Laser. Oh, the boomerang guys. They're a little bit annoying to get the hang of, and there's a ton of them in this level. Okay, so now this becomes kind of like a maze where you have to find the right way to go. It's got like the arrows pointing at it, and you'll see there's numbers in here. I don't pay a ton of attention to the numbers. I don't know if they're really important to getting to the boss. For me, it's just a specific following what I would call what looks like the easiest path. So you just check how the inside of the the level looks, and if it's like something that's simpler to get through, that's the route you should take. And what I mean by that is just taking a peek inside of it and then making your choice. And this is, again, as a kid, you know, this wasn't super hard to figure out. I feel like just kind of trial and error. And eventually you just get the hang of, oh, here's the route I need to take. So those guys are going to respawn. Yeah, there's two of them. So we'll look in here, say, okay, that looks like a pretty hard level, right? So come down here, this is very easy. Okay. So just take this one. All you have to do is clear those guys. Real simple. This one I think is your only choice. A little tougher. Those magnets will pull you in. That's what you have to be real careful about. That's part of the floaty jump thing that happens. This is where Donatello can actually be really helpful because of his range. Yeah, careful, because right there, I always get hit. Seems like that. I was lucky that time. Seems like if you're barely on the edge, the spike will cause damage. You come up here, go into this one. I've never been hit by one of those bombs dropping from the plane on the map. I do like the colors in this level. It's some real classic NES Konami colors. Purples and greens, reds. Okay, there's some more pizza. I always put an enemy right here, though, to hit you as soon as you drop off that ledge. It's like unavoidable. I don't know how to get past that. I just need to use Donatello. Sometimes I'm a little stubborn about using Leo too much. Donatello will definitely make your life easier. I think it's kind of like easy mode almost. Okay, between these two, this one looks kind of like pain. Come to this one, much easier. I think you can see what I mean. It's just, I evaluate the two paths. This one simpler, go with this one. Okay. Now here all you have to do is come all the way to the upper right hand corner of this runway. Takes a little while coming over this route. And this is where you can rescue a turtle that's been captured if you die in this level. Or if you have multiple turtles missing, one of them will be in that room. So I think we go... oh, never mind. Go back here. Okay, this one's pretty tough. But I don't think we have a choice here. So at this point in the recording, my capture software actually crashed and I had to restart it. And I didn't notice, but the mic was not picking up any longer at this point. So for the rest of this video, you'll be hearing my voiceover instead of the actual dialogue that I was having during the capture. I do apologize for that. Anyway, back to this level. So you want to, of course, make sure that you don't fall into the lava. That is an instant death. But if you do, you can go back to room 13 to get your partner back. You just need to be real careful at those jumps. Use the tapping of the A button. And in here you'll find another pizza. So you can see once Leo's lost half his life there that he is actually stronger now, so he can destroy those enemies with one hit. And I usually just clear this area out a bit. Head down there. Got the pizza. Take care of the boomerang guy. And then we should be able to come back around without too much trouble. If you jump a little farther, you can clear over that guy. But he is kind of tough or easy to fall into when you're doing a small jump there. Careful at that section. You want to make sure that the bug spawns before you try to make this jump. And just immediately go up the ladder so you don't catch a laser to the face. And that's just about it for this level. And there is up another pizza if you need it. So for this section, there'll be a part where you have to quickly drop down a series of gaps. And the best way to handle that is to, as soon as you reach the gap, you just stop pressing in the direction. And if, as you're falling, you need to adjust it, just move left or right with quick taps. And you can navigate through those drops, as we'll see here in just one second. That laser's always kind of annoying. So you can see here they give you this room to basically practice the maneuver. Give you a chance to just get a feel for the mechanics if you haven't already. Because in the next two screens you're going to have to do it twice. And you do have to get the triple throwing stars there. Or at least I always end up getting it. Because of the locations of the drop. See, it's a little bit farther on the right. But if you just carefully press it at the right time, left and right, shouldn't have any trouble. For the boss, you'll just want to switch to Donatello, stand directly underneath the enemy, and just attack him when his mouth is open. If you want to try for a challenge, you can attempt to beat this guy without Donatello and without standing directly underneath him. It does become quite a bit harder. It's definitely a really cool idea for a boss. Right now it's the second to last level. We'll be going to this nighttime rail yard kind of place. And the enemies and the difficulty will really start going up here. The game becomes a lot more challenging. And one of the tricky things is the Technodrome will actually show up in random spots. It's not actually guaranteed to show up at a specific location. It's randomized. So in this building is where we'll stop in to get some pizza first. There's also some power-ups in here if you need to get them, as well as a rescue spot down there. If you head down where I just passed over, you can rescue a previously captured turtle. And I think if you keep going up in here to the very top in the corner, there's some more scrolls, but it's a little tricky. There are some other scrolls too in some of the buildings here. So if you want to spend time exploring around, you might be able to find some pretty cool stuff if you want to take the time. So my strategy is to, once I've refilled my life, go down here, head to the left to this manhole in the corner. And that's where it seems likely to show up. I've had pretty good luck previously playing this game. And if it doesn't show up here, I'm usually going to the one in the upper right hand corner. But certainly this can be a very frustrating part of the game if you get beat up really bad trying to get to the Technodrome and you find out it's not even in the room, which that's happened to me a bunch of times too. So it's usually a good idea to try and clear this room out a little bit before you drop down. These enemies take a lot of hits and they can cause a huge headache. If you can jump around carefully enough, you can maneuver around them. These jellyfish guy will explode into 4 pieces. This guy, you can just stand underneath him. He'll either shoot over you or he'll try to drop on you and you can just move out of the way. Go around him. Similar with these guys, just try to wait till they're out of your way. And then there'll be one of these porcupine guys. The original Sonic the Hedgehog. Luckily, he despawned off the side of the screen. Sometimes he'll hang out and you might have to finish him off with your special weapon, or you might have to use Donatello to give you some assistance there. These things are really easy. Little guns shooting down from the ceiling. Okay, and this is the last room. And you'll keep your fingers crossed, and yep, sure enough, there's the Technodrome. So the strategy here is to keep a distance and use your projectile attacks if you can. Watch out for the ninjas. Sometimes it's a good idea to actually switch off from your projectile attack to kill the ninja. But if you see here, you can attack that front electrified field thing and disable it. So that's the idea, is you're just going to basically work your way around the Technodrome from the outside here and disable its weapons, specifically the guns and the port where the Foot Clan soldiers are jumping from. So you can see Raph can reach the guns, but he still is taking a lot of damage. And at this point, you're probably best going with Donnie. Have him just clear the rest out, and then finish off the boss. Now he's pretty much completely disabled. He can't attack me at all. No offensive capabilities. All I can do is shut the eye. Really cool boss too. Back from this era. Very memorable, fun boss fight. Kind of nerve-wracking. The first couple times you get here, it freaked me out, and I'd usually die. But wow, it was a great, inspiring feeling. Okay, and now we're moving on to the final level of the game. Definitely the toughest area. I recommend watching these kind of guides and then kind of figuring out your best way that you want to get through it. And these astronaut guys are just everywhere in this place. So you always hope that you get some of the easier enemy sets, but a lot of times the game will start spawning those guys or these weird seahorse looking robots, and they'll just make your life hell in here. So it's probably best to just go with Donatello for most of this level. You can see there's a pizza there. We're going to go back and get that. And there's a couple different routes you can take. So you can continue down from this room on the right there after you get the pizza. And that's probably the way I normally go, but more recently I've been going up on the left there where I just passed by. And the reason why is because there's another pizza that you can get. And I think both routes are about equally as tough. If you go down here from this line, you'll find that there's a spot where there's a bunch of those seahorse robots, and you'll fall into a bunch of spikes, and there's a ton of unavoidable damage that you have to take. And so I think it's actually more likely that you can go this way, go head up here instead, and this way you might have a chance at taking less damage. I mean, it's still very likely, but it's not as impossible. Like in that, if you go down the other part with the sparks, there's unavoidable damage. Here, there's a chance that you can get past these guys. If you have boomerangs and stuff, that's what makes this part of the game really feasible. See, that's the problem. If you do get this far and you have to continue, it's going to be quite a bit more challenging because you are less likely to encounter drops, item drops for stuff like boomerangs and projectiles. So your best bet is to try and make it on this first try whenever you've got the special items and stuff like that acquired. But still, in contrast, I have been able to use Donatello and the rest of the team to make it through Technodrome on a continue without having any special items. So it's definitely possible either way. It's just going to be a little easier. I mean, I guess having boomerangs and stuff here is similar to having scrolls. It's just that, you know, we didn't have to take any extra time to get any of the scrolls. And for me, that's just not really fun when you have to go and farm for the scrolls. You can see here, it's not critical that you go all the way to the left where that gun turret was. I could have just dropped down right there immediately, come over here, and then you'll want to clear the gap on the left on this side because there's a pizza. So just make sure you carefully kill this turret. Now you can come down here and get the pizza. So that kind of brings down the tension a little bit, gives you a bit more hope, because this part right here, the Gauntlet is what I call it, once you reach the yellow room, that's basically what I think is the hardest part of the game. And it's really easy to screw up there. There's a few things that you want to be mindful of. I'll give Leo some boomerangs to get him all set here. And the game doesn't always spawn these seahorse guys. Maybe if you get the pizza, they're more likely to put them there. So you'll end up on this same route regardless of which way you take. At the end of this room on the right, there's a power-up, an invincibility power-up, which you can get to help you through the next room, but it's not mandatory. What you'll see I'll do here is just drop down to avoid having to fight the turret, because I was worried about those astronaut guys with the lasers. So just barely jump out of the way of these guys. Make it to this door, and this is the Gauntlet, the yellow room. And this is the most nerve-wracking part for me. I've definitely had plenty of game overs due to this area. Really, this is frustrating. So you can see, I'm trying to jump while I'm scrolling the screen because you can spawn those astronaut guys at the top corner, which makes them much more manageable. But you have to remember to keep it up, because if you see here, I do kind of start to falter and then they end up spawning at a lower spot, which makes it much more difficult for me to handle them. And it almost cost me the end of this run. So you can see they're just ripping through. What you need to do is kind of pace yourself so you get them in a pattern where the guy in front of you will just slowly come one at a time. And try to make it so that nobody's following you, because that makes it just a million times harder. Some more boomerangs randomly. That's kind of a nice drop if you can get them. You can see my life is pretty close there to the edge. Not exactly in a great position. But there's only one more mini boss. One of those freaking astronaut guys with lasers. And then it's the final boss, the final fight with Shredder. Which is super easy. So if you've made it this far, you've got a bit of health left. You can take out this guy, no sweat. And get ready to beat the game. So you can see there's not much life left. But luckily all you have to do is let Shredder spawn at the top of the screen, and then keep him on one side. So I like to come down here below him. You can attack him as soon as he shows up there, or he'll drop down next to you. I'll usually hit him down there, that way he's kind of delayed. Gotta be careful when he's below you. If he hits you, he's likely to take away your life. But if you're quick enough on him, you can just hold him back. And he gets stuck in a pattern, and that's it. That's how you beat TMNT on NES. So I hope that video was helpful. I hope that there are some tips in here that you might not have known about. I definitely recommend using the boomerang sharing techniques and avoiding those scrolls. And yeah, happy hunting. I hope you have a great 2020. I appreciate all the subscribers, all the support. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good one. Take care.